Hi, I'm Davin, and this is a series about making web series and specifically the early stages of making a web series called Silver Cord. And I have with me a guest who helped us out on the Silver Cord teaser. This is Erin Roche. Hi, Erin.
Hello,
How are
Devin.
you doing?
I am splendid. Like I was
Great.
telling you earlier, I spent the day in the sun and I'm about to go outside again and do the same thing. So
I just
get
did
my
the same
rose.
thing. We got rosy cheeks, all of us.
Hmm.
Erin, tell everyone what you do in this crazy world of entertainment.
I am a costume designer. I'm a stylist. I'm a set super. I dress people. I'm in the costume department. Let's
Costume
just put
department.
it that way.
Tell me what. Sometimes I forget. I currently don't know. What's the difference between wardrobe designer and costume designer? Is there a difference?
Well, I mean, it really depends on who it is that you talk to. The more that I do this job, the more I realize that I'm more of a stylist than I am a designer, because when I use the word designer, a lot of people are like, oh, so you sit down and you make patterns. And I'm like, oh,
Ooh.
no, no. I mean, I have ideas and I like the way that I explain to people how I put things together is I get inspired by one item and then I take that one item with me and then usually it starts to tell a story. And
Mm.
then I'll just start to grab different pieces. Sometimes, like I end up cutting things off of a dress and I sew it together with something from a pair of pants and voila, you've got, a jumpsuit.
Oh, I love that.
It's like copy
Before
and paste
we're
with
gonna get
clothes.
into how it works specifically with Silver Cord, but just before we get there, what kind of
Yeah.
shows do you normally work on? What do you like to do? We worked together on a kids show, which was great because it was colorful and fun.
Yeah.
But is that what you usually do, or what are the types of shows that you like to work on?
Well, I do love that show, and I got to do the second season back in February.
Mhm.
So that was just great to be reunited with everybody. I love where the director like how it was just totally okay with me picking up where we left off and exploring the characters again. I like the freedom that she gave me and the reins to really create outside the box with a lot of the characters because they're not your standard sort of kids, right? So I got to put on my creative hat there. There weren't a lot of rules. um, right now I'm working in movie of the week business as a
Mhm.
costume designer, so that's what my next project is. There's a few more rules around that because of reasons, and it's a little bit more limited, but at the same time it's more of a challenge
Yeah.
because I have to stick within some parameters that people put up for me, but I still have to make it fabulous.
Right.
So
So
people
I'm
still
getting
got to look good, and
getting a
that's the key.
sense you like more the creative than the parameters, but just for, because I'm interested and in case people don't know, what are the kinds of parameters one has to work on in a costume department? Like what's something that they would say to you or like, this is a rule you got to follow? What's that kind of thing?
Well, when you're working with a lot of people who are in the movie industry are aware of like the hallmark sort of rules around the way the hair has to be and the clothing has to be, very neat, very clean,
Hmm.
very proper. Everything is pressed. There's not a wrinkle in sight. There's not a hair out of place. It's very like we are telling a story and it's like a fairy tale sort of wash on things, right? So, like, we know it's make believe here. We're not trying to go for reality. We are telling a love story. We are not that love isn't real, but ooh, someone's jaded. Um, but like you know what I mean. Like it's very rosy. It's very
Yeah,
rosy and very sweet and very charming, and we like to keep it that way.
right.
So
So now,
sometimes that can be, it can be a challenge,
yeah.
or you can embrace it and you can see it as, a lovey-dovey, cheesy story,
Hmm.
which is a lot of fun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a swerve all the way away from that.
Okay.
Let's talk about what we did,
Oh
which
boy.
was not lovey dovey.
No.
It was not neat. It was messy and sloppy. Tell me a little bit about the process if you can remember. It's been a while, but how did we start to talk about this character? What did you know as you were thinking about making the wardrobe and costume? And then tell me about what did you actually come up with on the day?
Well, and our initial conversation, I remember you were like, think a big party outside at Burning Man. And I was like, okay, cool, because
Hmm.
I love burns.
Hmm.
So, I started to kind of go through my catalog of what cool things have I seen. while going to these events or looking at things on previous projects. Pinterest is great for that kind of stuff, finding that kind of inspiration. So I started there. I started with like sort of cyberpunk, but then completely tore that apart because then we were dealing with an astral projection. So
Mm-hmm.
we still had to have this, we wanted like this nice creative sort of artsy flow that you get from a festival like Burning Man or Hyperborea, because I got to represent Ontario. Hello. But yeah, we really we took that, and I kind of ran with it all the way to a costume shop, and where I found a dress that was by Guess, and I tore that dress apart, and then I found a fishnet sleeves, and then I tore that apart, and I sewed the sleeves onto the dress, and I cut the dress in half, and we didn't use the bottom half of the dress. And then I found these pants that I cut on an angle and kind of like played with and frayed with, and she kind of looked like, I don't know, a little bit Aladdin-y at one point, and I was like, this is not what we're going for. And then you showed up with a bucket of dirt. And you were like, so don't worry about how clean this looks. We're going to mess it up. And I, like, as every costume designer does, has a mini heart attack
Mm-hmm.
when they're like, we're going to put dirt on the clothes. They'll go,
I know. It's weird.
but it was worth it.
Right from the start, I had a hard time. Thank God you were on this because I had a hard time communicating what I actually wanted. And it came out exactly as one might have pictured it. I was stuck between this sort of, when you think of anyone who might be in the astral projection category, I think you start to think of like white flowing nightgown. And I didn't want
Yeah.
that. But another way to go is kind of like, the leather clad badass from like Underworld. And I'm like, I didn't quite want that either. So I had some ideas, buckles, bits, interesting meshes was all of interest to me, but I couldn't for the life of me tell you exactly what I wanted. And once you started sending pictures, I'm like, this is going great and it's in the right direction. But when Tess first walked around the corner, yeah, it felt a little bit like,
Clean.
well, it's okay. It's the right wardrobe, but what is the? It's not evoking the emotion that I want. It's not scaring me. It's not
Mm-hmm.
making me feel like, oh, geez, she's in some deep shit. And so we brought the bucket, and thank you
Yep.
for letting us do that. And I think
Of
once all that
course.
stuff got slathered down, we were right in the pocket.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. After we started adding the mud and the nine, the just everything, Moira and I just looked at each other like, well,
Yeah.
you get that side, I'll get this side. We'll just go from there. And Tess was so great because she was like, yeah, sure, just do it.
Yeah.
She was so into it,
Now
ready to rock and roll.
we did 2 days. So not only did you have to peel that garbage off at the end of one day, but you had to put it back on the next day, looking
Yep.
essentially the same. What was like the process? Was it pictures? How did you go about recreating the look of the costume?
We did definitely do continuity photos. Both Moira and I were behind you, watching the monitors and
Mm,
a little mini video village there. So we referred to that because it's not like we had a script supervisor or anything. Also, right? So kind of relying on ourselves at this point. Um, but yeah, thank God we took pictures. Is all I have to say.
yeah.
Because
So
recreating it was, oh man, it was smelly,
mm,
and the next day it was smelly, yeah, for sure. And we just shimmied it on her, and it was still like kind of damp and
oh yeah,
cold,
it's
and
like a bathing suit on the second day if you didn't dry it out. It's like
oh yeah, yeah, like that, but with some, like tomato sauce mixed in.
So tell me, if you had infinite budget on the same shoot, what would you have done differently? Is there anything else that you would have tried? Is there any other direction that you think might have been interesting to go down with that character?
um oh man,
Infinite budget.
infinite budget is great, but for me what I really like is, and I we never get enough of it, and it's time and the chance to really percolate
Mm,
and flesh out ideas. And because there was a lot with that costume that I wanted to explore, but like, we have only so much time to
yeah.
do a little spec, so you kind of have to be like, this is the best that I can do with this right now, and I'm really okay with that. um I would have loved to have taken more time with, like, accessorizing it, especially after I allowed myself, the freedom for it to get dirty
Yeah.
and to be okay with that. Like, different accessories and just, yeah, you just kind of exploring how the costumes would evolve
Hmm.
and go from there, like, what happens after that character washes off all of the dirt? Like, what do we see
Right.
underneath all of that too,
Hmm.
There's a story there for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, we're in the very early stages of making this web series, and here's hoping that we go to production and you get all this time in the world. I don't know about the infinite budget. We'll do our best,
Okay.
but
Okay.
surely we can give you time. Listen, Erin, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your weekend to talk to me. I greatly appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Thank
Thank
you
you so much
so
for
much.
having me on.
Yeah, it was great to have you on the show. Great to talk to you about the idea, the process a year after we did it,
I know,
and
eh?
I
Wow.
will be talking to you soon. Thanks, Erin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.